Welcome back to November Chaotix, where we're spending all month long talking everything Knuckles Chaotix. And we've been through a lot together this month, haven't we? Brain damaged bees, born again Christodiles, misplaced armadillos, and yes, we still have a game to review. But before that, we need to spend a little time talking about the coolest lizard in video games. Nice try, Gex. Maybe next tale time. But for today, it's all about Espio. Now I know a lot of you have been wanting me to talk about this chameleon for a while, but truth be told, I didn't even think we would make it to this point. Seriously, I have not stockpiled any of these videos. I am scripting, recording, and editing one right after the other as you see them. I about gave up and just said, the Espio video's there, it's just invisible. I really need to learn better time management skills. And now I can! Thanks to today's sponsor, Nope, I still don't have any sponsors. How does my channel have this many subscribers? I have no idea what I'm doing. Despite this being my hands down favorite character of the team when I was a kid, and apparently that seems to be the case for many of you as well, I didn't really think there was much to say about the lizard, as he's one of the most underutilized characters in the entire franchise, across the board. I'm not talking just games here either, despite the fact that he has a ridiculous laundry list of capabilities and a lot of strong evidence hinting that he was made for so much more. We know Espio today as the serious stoic member of the Chaotix Detective Agency, and he's also a ninja. He's a ninja detective. Okay. I suppose Vector can be a detective and also a DJ. It's good to have hobbies outside of work, but it just sounds like a little kid slapping together careers because it sounds cool. Maybe that's what it actually is. Charmy just has two scaly dads who are being very supportive and playing make-believe with their son. When you have a mystery to solve, you call the Chaotix Detective Agency. Also available for weddings, bar mitzvahs, and stealth assassinations. As fond as I usually am of ninja reptiles, that's not what I want to talk about, at least not yet. We must first uncover the hidden history behind the character. Which is, well, there's not much. We've seen the Croc in Sonic's band, Mighty in the old arcade game, and the Bug in the manga. These three have been around, if not right at the start of the Sonic franchise, then at least real damn close to it. But believe it or not, Espio is the only member of the Chaotix that was created for the game Knuckles Chaotix. When I look at Espio's sprites, he just makes sense in this world. The music, the level design, the overall aesthetic, it all feels cohesive, as if it came from the same creative source. And, well, that's because it did. Takumi Miyake, I'm so sorry if I'm saying it wrong, designed Espio, and, well, most of the game itself. She was the chief graphic designer, character designer, enemy designer, level designer. A lot of her personal touch can be seen through the entire game. Probably won't surprise you to learn that later on she would go and design worlds in Nights into Dreams. And before this, was the chief designer of Rystar. I mean, seriously, you drop Espio into that world and he's gonna fit right in. Chaotix feels like it was built with Espio in mind, and that very well might have been the case. You've all seen Cybershell's video. We have evidence showing that there was heavy emphasis on the character, and we know about its very messy development. The game was probably cobbled together and slapped Knuckles on to make a few more sales, even if the giant lizard was clearly the favorite of the bunch. I mean, look at the guy. Even his sprites feel like they were made to be a technical showcase for the 32X. Look at that idle animation. Hypersonic, eat your heart out. He can't even be bothered to do a spin dash. He's got a tornado spin his way through loops. Honestly, I get a lot of Michael Jackson vibes from the guy. And no, not in the creepy way. Thanks to the tornado twist, the front of his face with that permanent furrow, kind of looking like that tip-down hat from Smooth Criminal, his shoes looking like something you could moonwalk in, and we know thanks to Space Channel 5 that Michael Jackson's relationship with Sega still existed after Sonic 3, and I feel like it's still present in classic Espio's design. It thoroughly inspired a lot of Sonic throughout these years, and wouldn't surprise me if that's the case here. Also love his running animation. Just charging ahead, horn first. I get it, chameleons kind of look like a Triceratops, but those dinosaurs had the skeletal structure designed to run their faces into things. Chameleons don't have that. That horn's just for show. Espio, you're gonna break your neck. Stop being an idiot. And yes, I have seen that random-ass top 10 facts video about the lizard. That single horn does indeed mean he's a Meller's chameleon. I know, reptiles are rad. But speaking of chameleons, Sega once again took a very weird real-world animal and turned it into a stylized, cool cartoon. Honestly, I loved this. It felt like Sega just took all the leftover critters after Disney picked through all the popular choices. And once again, they took a trait of the actual animal and turned it into a superpower. In this specific case, they took a chameleon's ability to change color and gave Espio the means to turn completely invisible, which is not actually something you can do in Knuckles Chaotix, as it would have served absolutely no purpose. Kinda sucks you can't turn invisible in the game, but then again, they did decide to forego the goofy eyes of the real lizard when designing Espio, so I guess we'll chalk that up as a fair trade. Or we can also just walk up the side outside of walls, like a proper lizard. Not sure if that's entirely fitting for a chameleon. I mean, don't get me wrong, chameleons will climb on whatever they can get their little claws around, but they do need to be able to grip. They can't stick to glass like geckos. But I mean, then again, Espio's doing it with his shoes, so who cares? Nothing matters. And Sonic the Fighter shows us that he has a real long tongue that can cause a lot of damage. Sorry, ladies, he's taken. So yes, design-wise, there was a lot of care put into the reptile. If you like Knuckles Chaotix, you're probably a big fan of the purple people eater. And this is all great and fine, but what about his personality? Well, outside of the American manual, commenting on him being somewhat of a hothead, which is not the impression I get when I look at him, kind of feel like they just took a look at this piece of art here with the spiky teeth and decided that this was just his constant mood. Anyway, yeah, outside of that, the original Japanese description actually nailed pretty much everything about the character right at the start. He is single-minded and has a strong sense of justice. His hobbies are combat training and gathering intelligence. And his job? Private detective. Well, I feel silly. I thought the detective stuff just showed up out of nowhere in Sonic Heroes. But turns out Espio's always been at it. Makes you wonder why he's not running the show in the modern version. What I also found interesting is the manual also points out that he took interest in the island that had emerged as a result of the Master Emerald being so close to the planet's surface. Dude loves to investigate, and apparently he is envious of Knuckles for having a connection to an ancient civilization. I know that's not the same thing as a rivalry, but that would have made for a very interesting dynamic between the two characters. Also, he likes camping. Isn't that precious? I feel like Sega knew they had a cool character on their hands and tried to push him a little more in Sonic the Fighters. But like all the other members of the crew, he just fell to the wayside after a while. Thankfully, that would not remain the case. With the release of Sonic Heroes, they would bring back the chameleon, and this time as a ninja. I still don't know if I prefer this take over the original design of the character. I mean, his look hasn't changed that much, and what they have changed, I don't hate. But I connect so much of that original design with that weird, colorful, surreal, dreamlike era of Sega. It feels like that's Espio's world, as opposed to playing second fiddle to a loud crocodile. But Espio is cool, and ninjas are also cool, so I can get behind it. His name is Espio after all, it's short for espionage, I get it, invisibility, sneaky spy stuff. Also, I keep forgetting that his name is short for espionage. I just like his name that much, it sounds so unique and cool. Espio. Ah, so cool. I do think, like a lot of others, he'd be fully capable of running the agency as its leader, and at times could probably do a better job than Vector, especially since apparently he's been doing it for a lot longer. But the dynamic works well enough. They're a lot of fun together. Espio clearly takes the ninja part a bit more seriously anyway. When he challenges Vector, it's only to help him be a better leader and keep the team focused up. As stoic and serious as the lizard is, it's probably best to have the more personable reptile act as the face and hype man for the business. Besides, if Vector is the employer in this situation, it doesn't really matter if Espio is more qualified or not. He's a business owner. That's just how this works. I'm thinking way too much about this. The detective stuff aside, Espio has a massive list of abilities at his disposal. On top of the invisibility and enhanced speed, they revamped the character during the time when Naruto was at its peak. I'm going to assume that inspired a whole lot of cartoon ninja crap for this character. I mean, he is a Sonic character with ninja reflexes, ninja stars and kunai, stealth abilities. How does he not have his own game? He is so cool. Have him sneak up on assassination targets, slicing necks with rings shooting off all over the place. Sign me up, that sounds rad. I think the only time we've ever had the modern interpretation playable outside of Heroes was, I think, Sonic Rivals 2? I'm not gonna count the mobile games or Olympic games. It was cool to see him in Rivals 2, but again, he feels underutilized. And I know we can say the same about the rest of the crew and honestly, about most of the secondary Sonic characters, but it feels especially egregious here because there's a lot that Espio can do that would make for one hell of a game. They just don't do much with them. I mean, not even the comics. I know I've spent a great deal of time with the Archie book when it comes to the Chaotix, and that's because that's where most of the interesting stories have come from since the games themselves haven't given us a whole lot to work off of. But unfortunately, even Archie comes up short when it comes to Espio. It did get a little interesting when they retconned a ninja backstory for the lizard, and he's just like, yeah, actually, I was originally on a mission to spy on all of you. Also, Mighty, your long-thought dead sister is actually alive. Whoopsies for not telling you. I mean, I'm sure we could get into some very specific tidbits, but I'm really not feeling like diving into the Iron Dominion nonsense today. Maybe I'm just misremembering, maybe there's some real cool scenes for the character. I don't know. Nothing really stands out to me when it comes to Archie Espio. except for an awesome fight with Shadow Man in that first Mega Man crossover. And, now that I think about it, maybe that's where Espio shines. Not with extensive backstories or wordy dialogue. I mean, he is a ninja detective. This is a man of action. And my dudes, that is where IDW Espio stands out. We haven't covered it on speed reading yet, but if you're a fan of Espio and you have not read the Metal Virus Saga, get to it now. I won't say much, but when things get serious, you need a serious character, and Espio does not mess around. Skip ahead just a few seconds if you don't want to know anything, but at some point in the story, Espio snaps on Sonic for some of his stupid decisions, and it's a great, tense little scene. And even later on, Sonic's buddies have to split up to take on a Chaos Emerald powered Deadly Six, and Espio is the only one who has to handle one of them by himself. That one being Zaz. And man, it is just great. It's pretty much a tamer Naruto battle. Nowhere near as nuanced as a proper shonen manga showdown, but it's just great. You gotta trust me. Look, Espio's just really cool. It's a shame I don't have a whole lot to say about him now, but hopefully we will in the future. The whole point of this was just to tell you he's great. Even if I don't have a whole lot to pick apart like the other characters, he still stands out as my favorite here. You get the point. Sega, use your stupid characters. Toot toot, Ninja Warriors. Ninja vanish! Oh, God, I hit the door.
Parker! That's the third call I got about giant lizards running amok in Gramercy Park. Giant lizards! Get me photos, pronto!
Right away, Mr. Jameson. Giant lizards? They aren't paying